Hi, I'm Seychelle, a Jamaican international student from Harvard class of 2024. Welcome to Harvard Highlight, where I feature Harvard students, past and present, and their stories, showcase aspects of Harvard life and culture, and highlight interesting opportunities and communities at Harvard. If you're interested in an entertaining, engaging, and educational podcast on all things Harvard, you're at the right place. Coming up on Harvard Highlights.
When it was time to apply for college, listen, Harvard was not even in the picture for me.
No way.
I'm telling you, Harvard wasn't even in the picture for me. And I think there has to be a balance, right? I think everybody at Harvard should do something that has nothing to do with career or school. Just do one other thing that you just enjoy, simply for fun.
Yeah.
But being in this setting and having access to people, whether that's professors, tutors, even your peers, that all prepares you to step out of here and really make an impact. And I heard so many stories pre-COVID how HCC was the lit group, the littest group. They would throw the best parties, everything would be banging. And so I was like, we gotta revive this,
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Harvard Highlight. I'm Seychelle, Harvard class of 2024, and I'm very excited for this discussion today. We have a guest that I've been waiting to bring on to the show for you. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hi everyone, my name is Kimani Panthier. I am also Harvard class of 2024, and actually Seychelle was my next door neighbor in Winthrop House. That's where I lived for my 3 years. I studied government while here on campus with a secondary in history, originally from Hempstead in Long Island, New York. And I'm so happy to be here with you today, Seychelle.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. A while ago, you had me nervous because I was like, Jesus, what is Kimani going to tell? You have too much dirt on me. So let's keep it cute.
We'll keep it cute.
Yeah.
We'll keep it calm. We'll keep it demure.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Keep it classy for the people.
I appreciate that. So Kimani, obviously being in Winthrop, we have we've known each other for a good amount of time during our Harvard journey. But I kind of wanted to have this conversation to, kind of figure out how did we get here to both of us kind of meeting here at Harvard. So please tell me a little bit more about, your background and kind of who is Kimani?
Who is Kimani? That's a great question, Seychelle. Well, as I said, I'm originally from Long Island, New York, in Hempstead, and I come from a Caribbean household. So my mother is Jamaican, born and raised in Jamaica, came here probably around when she was in her 30s. My dad is also Caribbean from Dominica, not the Dominican Republic, as some people get a little bit confused. He's from the island of Dominica. And he came here probably around the same age, in his late 20s, early 30s. My parents met in New York, and I was born and raised in Long Island, New York. I'm the youngest. And so, I get all the privileges of being spoiled. But, I would say I'm very thankful for my upbringing. My parents raised me very well, always taught me that education is the key. Education is priority. Never take education for granted because, in this country, education is one of the ways to social mobility, social and economic mobility. So I'm very grateful from a young child, education was always instilled in me. And along with that, my faith was also instilled in me as a child to, trust God, believe in God, and, he will direct my path. And so all throughout, being raised and growing up in New York, I went to a charter school in New York, and my mom and my parents really, we come from humble beginnings, modest means, because they're immigrants to this country. And so, like, as a lot of Caribbeans can tell you, like, moving from your homeland to come to the United States, it's a lot.
It's no joke.
It's no joke, right? It's tough, especially for people that don't already have family here. So that's really tough. And navigating, a new country and how you're going to start your life is really tough. But, they came here seeking economic mobility and coming for the American dream, right? To come in to make a better life for themselves. And so they want me as their child here, an American citizen, to really take full advantage of the opportunities that I have here in America. So growing up, like, we didn't come from the most affluent background, but my parents always made sure I had food on the table, made sure I was clothed, make sure I had shelter. So I'm very thankful to them. But back to, like, growing up and my education. So in the place where I grew up, Hempstead, New York, it's a mostly, like, Black and immigrant community. Like, there are Black Americans, there are Caribbean Americans, and then there are also, like, Latinos and Hispanic Americans. And so in that community, unfortunately, like, the education system was not great in that town. And my sister, who is a couple years older than me, had went through the public school system there. And, she did wonderful. She graduated. But my mom saw, like, the disadvantages of that system, and she was like, I don't want my son to go there. And they also had a really low graduation rate, like in the 30s, like 37%. And so she was like, I'm not sending Kimani there, and my mom always says from I was young, I was gifted, I had a lot of potential. What can I say? So
very humble.
Very humble, very humble. So when I was in kindergarten, she enrolled me into a private school for kindergarten and first grade. But, that it was expensive. And so they, were like, I don't think this is sustainable. And so in second grade, my pastor, the pastor of my church, he and a couple of, like, the leaders started a charter school. And so the charter school started for grades K through 2. And so when it started, I would have been in second grade. So I was in second grade, the top of all the classes that were there. And each year they successively added another grade. So third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, as the years went on. And so every year I stayed with the school until I was a senior in high school, 12th grade. So started in second and it stayed there until 12th grade.
Oh, nice.
So I was in that school for about 10 years, saw the full trajectory, the full expansion. And I really had a great community. And even that school, like, I had so many examples of Caribbean successful influences because my pastor, he's Jamaican. Like, a lot of the leaders in the school were, like, Jamaican. We had teachers that came from Jamaica to come up there to teach for a year. And so, like, my Spanish teacher was Jamaican. And, so everybody in the school joked that, like, it's a Jamaican school. But it was great. I really enjoyed being surrounded by successful Black people, Caribbean people. And so that really had a strong influence on me. And, they instilled in me service as a fundamental value of leadership and just making sure that I operate with the spirit of excellence. And that's what I brought to everything. That's what I bring to everything I do. And so when it was time to apply for college, like, listen, Harvard was not even in the picture for me.
No way.
I'm telling you, like, Harvard wasn't even in the picture for me. And I was like, I always wanted to go to Columbia because I'm from New York and I didn't really want to leave home. My mom got that nice cooked food, the oxtail, the jerk pork sauce. I'm not leaving home. And, one of my guidance counselors said, have you ever thought about Harvard? And I was like, no.
It's always someone seeing it in you before you're connecting those dots.
That's right.
That was for me. I don't know.
Yeah. And she told me, like, you should apply to Harvard. They have this early action program. And I was like, okay, so, like, what do I need to do? And, she walked me through the process step by step. And we sent in the application, and lo and behold, I was accepted early action, and that was like December 2019.
Wow.
Like, that seemed like ages ago, right?
So, what was your parents' response to that?
So, funny story. The day that the acceptances came out, my school was having like a high achievers awards dinner, and I was like, for middle school students, and I was like the keynote speaker. So I included in my speech, I'm so grateful for this school and for everyone that has shaped me and molded me, that I was even able to submit my application with confidence to an Ivy League school. And then I thought about on the spot, I was like, should I open the decision right
there?
then and there?
Whoa.
But then I was like, let me not do that. But if I did, that would have been a viral moment, right? So, but my mom was not able to be there. But later that night, we were at home. We opened up the application, and then all we could see was the congratulations.
Yeah.
And then when she saw that congratulations, oh my God, Kimani! And then she started to cry. And, it was like a full circle moment, because in that moment, I think she saw all her hard work, all the struggles she endured, even my dad too, all of them, both collectively, that they endured coming to this country, migrating here, dealing with all the difficulties that come with being an immigrant. And your son, who is a first-generation American, is able to go to the best university in this country. And some would say even the world. That
I
was
feel
amazing
like
for me.
that's like the American dream right there, to know that, each generation is doing better than the next, opening opportunities that your ancestors wouldn't even have been able to dream about. So, wow, I can't imagine how proud they must have felt. Wow. So, you're in high school, you've gotten this news. I want to ask, how did that affect you getting the decision early, finishing up high school?
Well, I didn't want to chill out too much, but you could take a little breather, because we had a couple more months of school. But then COVID hit. So, actually when COVID hit, I was like, school's over. But it was just a couple more months until like graduation, and it didn't really affect me too much. But once COVID hit in like March of 2020, like school was basically a joke at that point, because everything was virtual.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I still remain on top of my work, because you have to submit the end of year transcript to the university, so you can't fall off too much. But I did my best, did what I had to do.
So one thing I'm excited to talk to you about, or even reflect on, is what I'm gonna call COVID Chronicles.
Jeez.
Because some of the people I have had on the show so far, didn't experience Harvard the way we did, in particular being class of 2024. And so this is kind of a preview into like another series that I'm gonna bring here on Harvard Highlight.
You're just bringing all the series, man.
This is an idea factory right here. So I definitely wanted to talk about that, even just briefly. So you knew from 2019 that you got in, then COVID hit. So I guess, how did you decide? What was that decision period like for you to determine, like, okay, I'm gonna, despite the world being in shambles, I'm gonna start my Harvard journey nonetheless?
That's a great question. I never felt like I had a choice, to be honest. I guess because, growing up, like, I didn't know anything else existed. Like, I really didn't know, like, you could take a year off of school and do a gap and travel the country, and or some people just, do work. I never thought about that. But I, kind of knew, like, my parents would not be too fond of the idea of me, taking a gap, taking a year off school to like pursue God knows what.
Mm-hmm.
But I just knew like, okay, I was hoping that come the start of college, September 2020, that things would be better. But it seemed as if like COVID was not going away.
Yeah.
And so we had to start in the pandemic, and I was really unsure what to expect. But I'm thankful that, I was able to be here for in-person first semester. And so, like, although we didn't get the full Harvard experience, still got to meet some people during freshman year, but like those restrictions were crazy.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that, because I've only heard stories.
Listen, we had to do COVID testing 3 times a week. 3 times a week. It was cold food, not hot food. Cold food that not delivered. We had to go into Annenberg, the dining hall, stand 6 feet apart from the person in line, and pick up cold food and bring it back to your dorm to eat. So also you couldn't really hang out outside, or like if the gatherings got too big, tutors, proctors break that up. There were also like no guests allowed in the dorms, so no visitors, just you and your roommates. So some people equated it to lockdown. Like, it was really, the restrictions were very stringent, very tough, and it was hard to find community and hard to build community in those really pivotal moments as a freshman.
Exactly.
Like, those are the crucial foundation moments that you really need to build community, to meet people, to meet friends, and to meet upperclassmen. And so I felt like that season was really like, very, very tough, because it's like we didn't have the sport. We didn't have all of the things that really you need as a freshman to succeed here at Harvard. I agree.
And it wasn't until I came in person, because you don't know what you're missing out on until you see. And I will admit, when I first came, I think it took me 2 falls to really get over what I would say the freshman jealousy. Like, seeing the freshmen, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even get to, like, it started to hit when I came in person. I was just like, you guys are...
You're lucky.
So fortunate to have that experience, because everyone talks about it, like how important freshman is to building community, even building network, to get mentorship, that sort of thing. You're navigating Harvard.
Look, I was just saying it today. I don't think I fully understood how to navigate Harvard until junior year.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of selecting classes.
Because sophomore year was our freshman year.
Basically, right.
Yeah.
So until like junior year, I really started to understand, like, how do I pick and choose the best classes, like what organizations to be a part of, like how to go about social life, networking, connecting with different people. And it was like, at that time, it's kind of late in the game, So if I could do things different, I would hope the conditions could have been different for freshman year. But, there's a purpose for everything.
Yeah,
so.
and I would say that will definitely be kind of something that distinguishes our class as like, wow, we really can see what impact freshman year can have on like a group. Because I think even the dynamic in our class was a bit different. Sophomore year, we didn't know each other that well, because we're not seeing faces all the time in Annenberg and all of that. So it was really somewhat of a social experiment, and like seeing how Harvard traditions, can really influence.
And some of those died off during the pandemic, and some were started to be brought back, when everybody started to come back to campus. But like, I don't think we really are starting to see like what a true Harvard experience was until like probably like senior year of college.
Yeah.
So
And this is why I really want to like reflect on that and really have
Yeah.
a space where we can, you know,
Yeah.
recognize like how unique that experience was.
You know, we've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
These newcomers don't know nothing about that. So.
We have to tell them about back in the day.
Back
you
in
know?
the days,
Back in
yeah.
our day. But what a time. So you did freshman fall here, but you...
And freshman spring.
Okay, so both semesters.
Yeah.
Okay, so now talk to me about... Let's talk about moving into becoming an upperclassman. Something I just thought about was even our housing day. What was that like for you, finding out you got into Winthrop?
Housing day on Zoom.
Yeah.
They put us in breakout rooms, and then you had to join the breakout room, and then the virtual background was like something affiliated with your house. So that's how we found out what house we were in.
All I remember was seeing a bunch of screens with people like in the background, and I didn't even know that much about the houses. I just wanted a good house.
Listen,
I heard Winthrop was good. I was happy.
I didn't even really know those houses existed. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I knew about the yard because that's where I lived. But like as a freshman, I was so clouded because I did not have that experience and exposure to like, no, there are 12 houses and all these different things. And so, you know, I see freshmen now and I'm like, you guys are blessed. Because coming in to eat in an upperclassman house.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, the yard can be a bit of a bubble because, you know, I tried to invite like the freshmen to see there's life beyond the square, you know, come to the river, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it is, I knew nothing about Winthrop, but I can say I was pleasantly surprised when I came sophomore year. I was like, this is nice.
We did do well. We did do well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think when we first met would have to be when Winthrop had their sophomore outing. I remember distinctly, like, I don't know, we were very social and like that freshman energy, trying to like meet people and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know, I think me in sophomore year, I wouldn't have been able to predict how our friendship would have blossomed by the time we got to senior year, senior week, all of that. It's one of the things I look back on. I was just like, darn, I wish we would have, you know, really
a little
touched base
sooner.
a little earlier.
Yeah.
But who describe like your first, you know, circles and like how you started to develop your community at Harvard?
Wow. So for me, when I started to develop community at Harvard, it was probably, I would say I was in a lot of different extracurriculars. I was a part of the student government here at Harvard for like the first 2 years. So that's like kind of the first introduction I had to community was like, you know, my other peers who were representatives on the student government. I ran for, like to be a representative of one of the freshman yards back when freshman year, and I was like one of the representatives for Oak Yard. And so like we built community with the people who were on that student government council, and then I was also involved with the Institute of Politics pretty earlier on in my college career, because, you know, government, so naturally, like, the Institute of Politics was somewhere I went and sought out programming, and I started to make friends with the people that were involved in that club. And then I also joined the Harvard College Consulting Group pretty earlier on, because I heard about this thing called consulting, and I was like, well, what is that? You know, when you get to Harvard, there's a lot of different things you will start to learn and pick up on in like so quick. There's an information overload, and so I was like, what is consulting? And, found out it's about problem solving, tackling big challenges, big ideas. And I was like, that sounds interesting to me. And so I started to get involved with that club. And so those are like my first few introductions into, meeting people and connecting with different people. And then later on down the line, I started to find community elsewhere, like more through the houses and certain people that were in the houses, and also from those different clubs that I was a part of, I met different people who were friends with other people. So you just start to naturally connect with a lot of different people through classes, through extracurriculars, through your house culture. And then in the later part of my junior year, I started to really tap into my Caribbean roots.
Yeah, about time.
So I really had to say, what? There's been a part of me that, I didn't really explore while here at Harvard. So I said, let's. There's still time, and while there's still time, like why not, really get involved with the Caribbean Club, and so like I started going to more meetings, more events, and I saw that, on campus, especially after the pandemic, there seemed to just be a lack of community and like a lack of coming together of Caribbean students on campus. A lot of rebuilding.
Take
Yes.
place, yeah.
And I heard so many stories like pre-COVID how HCC was the lit group, like the littest group. They would throw the best parties, everything would be banging. And so like I was like, we gotta revive this, like before we leave and graduate, we gotta bring some
you
energy.
want a good party before
Exactly.
you leave. Yeah.
So, I decided to get involved and join HCC and become a member and really seek out community there as well.
Nice. So it seems that I have two things jump out to me. Like, a lot of people, there are a lot of Caribbean Americans. Like, I realize, like, I think, me, I'm always the one to, like, talk to people and socialize.
And bring them together.
And then, so, when I speak to them and, try to learn more about them, I find, I would say majority of the time, this person's that, my mom's Jamaican, or, I'm Caribbean. I'm like, so why haven't I seen you at the events? Where are you at? That sort of thing. So I wanted to find out from you, like, what was your, what was your reason why you didn't get involved early, and what would you say to people who are here on campus and they're just like, I don't know if I should join HCC.
Well,
what would you say?
Seychelles was a big push for me to get involved, and as a result, I'm here talking to you all today. But I think it was just one reason I didn't get involved earlier is because, like, as I said before, Harvard has such a wealth of opportunities, of different clubs, of different things to explore. Like, the possibilities are endless. And so, like, I think personally I would just focus on a specific track, like pre-professional, looking to, really hone in on those pre-professional skills. And so I didn't get involved earlier, which I really regret, because...
But, I mean, it's also pretty fair. Like, some people, they want to, be ahead of the curve and, like, really, set that foundation earlier.
I think there has to be a balance, right? Like, I think everybody at Harvard should do something that has nothing to do with career or, like, school. Just do one other thing that you just enjoy, like, simply for fun.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that was the piece that I was lacking personally. And, like, when I joined HCC, like, it was just, like, so much of a relief, like, so much fun, so much community. Like, I was like, I should have did this, like, way sooner in my college career. So that's what I would say to you people here on campus who are Caribbeans undercover. We need to see you at these events. but you never know where you'll find community on campus. And so I would really encourage people to tap into that part of yourself, tap into that identity with people who can relate to you. And if you don't feel like you yourself have really discovered or connected with that part of yourself, I think HCC is a really good space to like start to discover, start to learn about your culture.
Yeah.
And we have people all across the Caribbean. Like, we have people who are, who are born and raised in the Caribbean, people who are Caribbean American. So the range just goes on.
I agree. I'm definitely, you know me, an advocate to, be a part, embracing that part of your identity, and trust me, you will not regret like being a part of HCC, and it's a community that there's good vibe, good people, good food. What more can you really want?
That's right. Good parties.
Hey, DJ Kimani.
That's
Ooh,
right.
DJ KP.
DJ KP.
Okay. Very nice. I wanted to also touch on. So you mentioned you got really involved in, IOP, sort of those government-based clubs and organizations, but you didn't come into Harvard doing government. So, yeah, let's talk about that. Mr. Applied Math.
So, right, I did come into Harvard seeking to do math, right? And that's pretty much because I loved math in high school. Like, I really loved math. I loved problem solving. Like, the joy that I got from finishing an equation, an integral, whatever, like, that was me. Like, any math thing, you could give it to me, I wouldn't stop until it was solved. But I also did have like that government side of me that I knew I was interested in, but math was definitely something that I've just enjoyed since I was a kid and wanted to really explore that. Coming into college, and then I took my first math course here, and I was like, whoa, let's chill out.
Yeah.
This is a little too much. And also, it was during COVID, the pandemic, so it was online. We were going super fast.
Yes.
And it was I didn't really have like the support that I needed, to be frank, to like sustain me on that trajectory here in college. Maybe if I started during a regular in-person year, that might have been different. Who knows? I could be an applied math major today.
Yeah.
But I had to change course, and I said, this is not for me. Not for me. But sometimes I have imaginations of going for a master's degree in math or things like that.
Trust me, consider yourself, you got a lucky break. Because the math courses here are pretty intense.
Yeah.
They're fast paced, and the pieces, I don't know, but you never know what the future holds. So we'll see.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about government. I'm a STEM person here at Harvard. What do you like about the concentration? And also, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your thesis, because
my thesis seems like so long ago, but sure, I will tell you a little bit about the concentration plus my thesis.
Yeah.
So government at Harvard is actually one of the most popular concentrations. I believe it's the top three are like CS, econ, and government. So Harvard's really known for its gov department, but in government, I really like that we had a lot of flexibility to kind of like make the concentration what we wanted it to be. We could take we had to take courses in political theory, comparative politics, American politics, and international relations. And like you could specialize on like which one of those four that you really wanted to hone in on. So mine was American politics because like I just am fascinated, with the American political system, and I myself want to get involved someday. So I definitely love those courses, learning about the Supreme Court, learning about Congress, learning about American foreign policy as well was one of my favorite classes. So I'm on a pre-law trajectory, so I would love to go to law school, and I'm on that path now. But So I really enjoyed Gov, and some of the seminars and the classes were really thought-provoking. And it was overall a great experience. Really learned to hone in like writing skills, reading skills, the amount of reading you have to do in a week, crazy. But
You know.
but you learn how to manage. You really do learn how to manage and how to get what you need while finessing. So
Yes.
that is a skill that you have to learn here.
I feel like I got a degree in finessing and BSc
Oh,
here.
you don't think? How do you think I wrote a thesis so quick?
Listen, I was there with you asking Kimani, how's the thesis? Updates, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I was concerned, but at the same time, I was just like, you know, this is how you work. This is how you function. So I was just like, you're gonna get it done.
That's right. And
But I was
done.
sweating for you.
I know. I was sweating myself. And so to my thesis was about black congressional politics in the United States. And I was really concerned at looking at the rise of black representatives in Congress because if we really look at it, not until the 1990s did we really see a rise in black Americans serving in Congress. Because, you know, this country has a history of slavery. And so, you know, black people really didn't receive the right to vote until the 15th Amendment. And then black women couldn't vote until 1965 with the Voting Rights Act. And so I studied like black people serving in Congress, which is a really new phenomenon. And most representatives were serving in districts that were majority black or like a majority minority district. But recently, like in the past 10 years, there's been an uptick in black representatives serving in majority white or white minority districts. And so I was looking at the difference in representation styles of black representatives in majority minority districts versus black representatives who are serving majority white districts. And so what I found in my thesis is that, you know, basically aligning with what I found in my thesis was that black representatives who serve in majority minority districts usually were more aligned with their constituents than black representatives that served in majority white districts. And this is partly because, you know, like of partisanship, like most African Americans tend to vote along with the Democratic Party, and most black legislators have been Democrats. So that it's partially due to like their partisanship, but also sharing ethnicity with your member of Congress also increase like the alignment in terms of policies and representation. So that's what I studied, and I was looking at whether we really need to expand I was looking at how we could use the law to expand the number of black representatives in Congress, and like there was a recent Supreme Court decision that created 2 new congressional districts where there was like a majority black population that could be represented by a person of color. So I was very interested in finding that. I enjoyed the thesis overall, and I was somehow able to complete it, you know,
Yeah,
in that very short window of time.
you
120 pages.
You not only completed it, but ended up graduating Harvard with
High honors.
Yeah.
High honors.
So
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. This. I know that you definitely. Well, for me, I'm still learning about American politics and all of that, and I know this is your wheelhouse, so I appreciate you, sharing some of your findings.
Yes,
and all of that.
it is my wheelhouse.
Did it come in handy these last couple months? Because I know since graduating, you've been very involved on the political scene.
Yes.
What has that been like?
I have definitely been involved in the political scene. So since graduating, I took 1 month off, I had to go on vacation, had to celebrate, my recent accomplishments. But then I jumped right in. I returned back home to Long Island, where I'm from, and I really hopped in on a battleground congressional race that was going on in New York 4. It's New York's 4th congressional district. And so it's where I'm actually from. And so 2 years ago, we kind of witnessed like a red wave where like Republicans took control of some of the congressional districts in New York.
Okay.
And most of these districts tend to be Democratic, but like that year was just bad for Democrats. And so the Republicans were able to get away and take control of some of those seats. And in this year, we had a very concerted effort to flip those districts that went red back to blue. So my role on the campaign was to be like the director of Black and African American outreach. Okay. So the district that I was working in is 20% Black. And, you know, it's a very diverse district. So we wanted to ensure that we had the highest Black voter turnout ever in that district. And our candidate was, you know, a white woman. And so to make sure that we got the buy-in of Black voters was my job to introduce the candidate to you know, Black communities, Black leaders, Black pastors, Black elected officials, to really engross her in that community and to also make Black people feel seen and heard and welcomed and bring them on board to support her candidacy and the Democratic Party. So I really enjoyed that role. Like, I think it fit me perfectly. You know, I love to talk, I love to chit-chat, I love to mingle, connect people, bring people together. So we hosted a lot of events. We had a Caribbean American event. We had like a Haitian American rally because there are, you know, several Haitian families in that district as well. We did several house parties, meet and greets. The candidate brought her into the community. We had so many events to really bring people together, and that resulted in a success. Like,
nice.
We were able to flip the district. She won on election night by a very slim margin, but that's a testament to the work that we did, because she previously ran 2 years ago and she didn't have as much of a team to really help her. But this year, like, the team really invested in Black and Latino outreach, and we were able to bring her over the finish line. So it was amazing opportunity to really work on that campaign, get connected to so many like influential people in government and in politics. And so I really enjoyed doing that work of building relationships, bringing people together, being a community organizer. I loved it.
I could tell. I saw like the enthusiasm through, you know, the stories you would post, and yeah, I could tell that this was coming from a very I guess honest place. Like it I don't think it could have been a better fit for you. So I have to ask, like, you know, I think earlier this year we were kind of talking about, you know, what future directions might look like for you, and you had different opportunities that you were deciding between. How has your, you know, recent experience doing such hands-on work in government kind of has it influenced kind of your thoughts of like where your trajectory is headed? Because I know there's this pre-law, but also there's your consulting problem solving side of you. So have you gained any insights?
Well, there are always decisions to be made. You know, that's the thing. And I'm grateful for so many different opportunities. It's like there's always a decision that has to be made about what opportunity am I going to take. So with this experience under my belt, really opened my eyes to like really being in that political realm and having access to like a lot of the people who are movers and shakers in government. And so I really enjoyed that work. What really stuck out to me and what I enjoyed the most was actually like building relationships with the people in the community and like bringing people together towards a shared goal. And like it was basically where we had a movement going on, you know. So part of me wants to continue doing that work. But I'm also on the pre-law track.
Yeah.
Regardless, I'm going to law school. That's a done deal. That's a given. It's more so about like what is the path to law school at this point. So whether it's going to be me continuing to work in politics or like pivoting to the private sector and pursuing consulting or problem solving. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. I might be back for another episode on that. But we shall see. We shall see. A lot of things cooking in the pot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So, as an alum, I'm sure a lot of, current undergrads are reaching out to you and be like, Kimani, what's the secret? We might have some viewers here who are just like, I'm interested in government. What would you say have been like some of the key steps or resources that you've taken that you recommend to someone who's interested in that line of work?
Here.
Yeah.
So some things that I would recommend is really taking advantage of the Institute of Politics. The IOP offers so many different programs, opportunities to meet different government and politics, journalism, policy, whatever area. Like join the Institute of Politics, find your place there. I really enjoyed the Fellows and Study Groups program that they had there, where they bring in 6 resident fellows, people who are influential in politics and government, to come and stay on campus for a semester. And so I did that program for 2 years. And like I got several connections through that program and through IOP overall. And also the IOP has summer internships. They pay you to pursue public service opportunities during the summer. So you can get like a stipend for doing that. And take advantage of in the Office of Career Services. There are people there, especially they have different tracks. Like if you want to be like going to government or pre-law track, there's someone that can advise you on like the different opportunities that they offer. And the Gov Department's also a great resource. A lot of people in there have seen students come and go and pursue different things, whether that's law school or go on campaigns and graduate work like PhDs in political science and things of that nature. So there are so many different paths, so many different options. But also upperclassmen are a great resource as well, because I think something that really is a great piece of advice that I was given is that you should try to find somebody that is kind of on your trajectory or on your path, and someone that has kind of blazed that trail already, so that they can really help you and be a guide towards you. So mentorship is definitely key.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed from our conversation, you are the type of person who would be able to talking to the professor, try setting up these meetings, so really motivated to reach out and learn from the people around us. That's something that I've noticed and would also add to that. But I'm very nice. So you're now a few months
Remove.
removed from Harvard. What has that been like? Is there anything that you kind of taken with you in this new chapter, or anything you look back ponder on?
I think that Harvard was a great formative experience. Like I'm so blessed and so privileged that having 4 days of life. But coming out of this experience, it shows that there's so much more. Like there's so much more to life in Harvard and your 4-year. Your 4-year are your training years. Those are your development years. And I think a lot of what I learned here kind of prepared me in some ways to go out into the big world and do what I do. Like politics is not an easy industry. And I'll tell you, I've met people who range all different walks of life. And also when you have to step into the workforce, you have to deal with people who can be difficult at times. So I think Harvard in some ways taught me how to deal with so many different personalities, different people, different backgrounds, how to navigate in certain spaces, being in those professional settings. And so I'm grateful for this experience, and I think it's taught me a lot. And I think I've also just grown in terms of like confidence and how you present yourself in the workplace. So Harvard has definitely had a significant impact on getting me prepared for the real world. Not that I would not have been prepared, outside of Harvard, because my mother and father make sure that, I'm prepared wherever I go. But being in this setting and having access to people, whether that's professors, tutors, even your peers, that all prepares you to step out of here and really make an impact.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to kind of, before we wrap up, talk about some of your, you mentioned this before, what were some of your fondest memories, whether it's like social scenes, different circles that you were in.
I have a couple. Harvard, Yale was definitely one of my fondest memories. I think it's really great to experience a Harvard, Yale here, and friends, housing day, like going and knocking on the doors of the freshmen and telling them, you got Winthrop. I think that's great, all the energy and the excitement.
It's also nice when I think we always try to pretend we're some quad.
Right.
House, and then, it's the look on their faces when they see the Winthrop signs and they're like, oh, thank God.
Right.
It's nice being able to deliver good news on housing.
That's right. I would say also, HCC events like Jubilee was great. I would say, let me think. I would also say some of the formal season. That's definitely a highlight.
Yeah. Did you get to go on any of the yachts?
Of course.
I fumbled.
Of course.
I have not been on a boat yet, and I need to change that.
Winthrop, the sophomore formal was on a yacht. Our sophomore year.
Yeah, I thought this was gonna be a thing, so I was like, I'll go next year. Lock in when you have your chance.
That's right. Lock in. But yeah, I think Harvard has been phenomenal. There's been a lot of key moments.
Would you say Harvard Yale is your favorite Harvard tradition, or is there any other?
I like housing day. I really like housing day.
Yeah. All right, nice.
And graduation, of course.
Graduation
was great. Senior week,
lots of memories were made. Yeah, that was a time. If I could do it again, I would do senior week. I would have 2 weeks, but wait, no, it was kind of exhausting.
It got a little exhausting at the end.
But that was a great time. But yeah, honestly, I'm so glad you were able to stop by and kind of reflect and share your experience.
Right. I just want to thank Seychelle for flying me out, taking time out of her busy schedule to allow me to sit here and really talk to one of the greatest hosts, that Harvard has ever seen. So thank you for having me on your show.
Of course.
Let me know when I can come back.
I will let you know.
All right.
Or I might have a panel next time. You never know.
Okay, I like that. I like a panel.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm gonna wrap up. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Harvard Highlight. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching Harvard Highlight. Subscribe for more content. Check the links in the description for more information from this episode. Feel free to ask questions and leave a comment. And before you go, like this video.